Here we go. This is the myofascial meridians, or the fascial meridians. And they're divided, there's 10 of them, and they're divided into the superficial back line, which is the ones that we're looking at here. So even though I said before it was the thoracolumbar, there's actually a deeper layer here. This is the erector spinae muscle, and it goes all the way down into the hamstrings, down into the calf muscles, and down into the feet, and goes all the way back up onto the perifascia, into the scalp, and then right into the front. So we can see the whole thing connects all the way down the back to the feet. So whatever you do at the feet is going to influence up here, and whatever you do up here is going to influence down there. So if someone's got tight hamstrings, you can influence that by massaging their scalp at the front, because it's in the one line. So knowing the fascia meridians actually really helps you if you want to understand what you're doing. If you're just learning your techniques, which you are, which is a great thing to do, it's one thing, but knowing, okay, well, what might they be doing is even more amazing. So that's your superficial back line. And you've got a superficial front line as well. So it starts on the top of the feet, and it goes up the side onto the outside component of the legs, the perineal muscles. Then it goes up into the quadriceps, goes up to the hip joint, and then it comes down and goes up your rectus femoris, this muscle here, which is actually not necessarily the superficial layer. There's actually, you've got external oblique and internal oblique over that. We'll get to that. And then that goes up into the thoracocostal, so I think the sternocondral fascia here, which goes up into the side of the neck, the sternocleidomastoid muscle. And that goes all the way up into the scalp fascia as well. That's your front line. Oh, there's a lucky guy getting his front line stretched out. So not only is my front line getting stretched here, but my arm lines are also getting stretched, and my lateral lines are getting stretched. There's a whole line that goes down the side of the body. So this move is fantastic. Nearly all of the Watson moves are fantastic. So here's the lateral line. So it's starting on the outside of the feet, and it goes up the iliotibial band out the outside into the tensor fascia lata. And then it goes up into the side ribs, through all the ribs. Well, it actually goes through the internal and external intercostals. Actually, after this, the abdominal oblique muscles there in here, and then goes all the way up into the side of the neck. This is in reverse, the sternocleidomastoid up here, and then that goes up and all the way up into the temporal region too. So the lateral lines are not things that we move much when we're walking, because we're going forwards and back. The lateral line is stretching this way. It's not movements that we do much. So they're the movements usually you have to do more in the water, because that's where people will be stuck. So the movements going backwards and forwards, people do a lot, but twisting and lateral flexion, it's called, that's what we need way more of to free ourselves up. Oh. It's not you, Michael, sorry, mate. Now, this is incredible. This is really amazing stuff. This is the spiral lines. The spiral lines are amazing, right? So they start at the bottom of the feet, they go up the outside of the leg, and they go up the outside of the leg, and then they come up and they go into the abdominals, and they go across the internal oblique to the external oblique, and then they go into the serratus anterior muscle, and then they go around the back into the rhomboids, and they cross over and go onto the other side at the top of the head. So they're literally spiraling around the body, on the front and the back.
And what, can I interject? I just wonder if it has a chakra relationship.
Well,
you have that.
This is where the chakra theory is a bit, it's a story and a bit limiting. yes, it will affect, certainly here, the spiral line crosses. So this will be at your Manipura chakra or your third chakra. But it also goes through the second chakra and the base chakra. In fact, it goes below, it goes all the way down to your feet into the earth chakra. So not really. We can pretend this is related to a chakra, but this actually relates to itself. It's the spiral line. So that's why you want to do the spinal twisting. And you're twisting from where it crosses, which is in the belly button. So that's where you want to do lots of movement. You want to do this lateral flexion at the diaphragm level, but you want these twisting movements to happen here. And the other place you want it to happen is here, where on the back. And I've got it more in some other slides where the serratus anterior and the rhomboids join together and cross over and go to the opposite neck. So that's sort of at the back up here. So I put this one in here because that's working these spiral lines. You can see how there's movement happening here, and it's, you know, what's going on in one leg, it's getting a whole spinal twist and you're letting go to the other side. This is a great move. What's that one called? Oh, Mr. Science himself. Then on the front, we've actually got the deep front line, which is usually called the core in yoga. And the core starts all the way down on the feet as well, underneath your ankle bone there, the calcaneus. It's the tibialis posterior, which is at the, it's actually at the back, but it's actually the front of the back is where the deep core is. And then it goes up into the inside of the leg, into the adductor muscles. And then that goes up into the psoas muscle and the quadratus lumborum muscle, which then goes up into the diaphragm and then connects to all the internal organs in the chest. So the heart and the lungs all have that deep front line, and then they're going up into the neck, and then they're coming out at the tongue. So it's dividing into two here. It's going up here into the side of the head as well. But see this one here at the front? That goes up to your tongue. So if you put your tongue out, you are stretching your core. And the core is where your deep tension is going to get stored. And that will then influence your dura, which is what covers the spinal cord, which you have to free the spinal cord up. So you have to get to this deep front line. And it's so buried in the body, it's really difficult.
Do you think this is the roaring lion, the reason for the
Simha breath.
What's it?
Simha breath.
Sure.
I love that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this will be more, you know, flexion. So you'd probably, you know, you'd want to go into this sort of fetal position, and then you want the extension as well. So you're trying to get both movements happening to free the spine. So this will be more contracting the core, and then you'd want to be opening the core. Oop. So you've got these functional lines as well. So they're more involved in sport. So, you know, if you're throwing with one arm, you're stabilising with the opposite leg. So, for instance, in tennis and serving, or in throwing a ball, it's the opposite side stables, and they get called the functional lines. Back in the classroom again. Then you've got the superficial front and back arm lines and the deep front and back arm lines. So you've got 4 arm lines, and so you can see them here. Here's the superficial back arm, and they're coming off the trapezius, which is then going down into the deltoid, goes into this fascia, and then goes to the extensor muscles of the forearm. And on this one we've got the deep muscles, so it's more the rhomboid muscles here, which then go into your infraspinatus, which then goes down into these brachial muscles in the arm, goes into a septum here, then into the muscles of the finger. You don't have to know the names of the muscles, but you need to know that you've got these fascial connections, which are basically your arms are intimately connected with your spine. So to free up the spine, you want to also be freeing the arms. So that's what I love today, Michael. When you're grabbing the hands and pulling them out, you're then stretching the spine and you're stretching the fascial lines that attach into the spine here. And you've got the same on the front. And so this is the pec minor muscle. That's the pec minor muscle, yeah. And so going down just to the front of the forearms, and these are the deep, actually this is the pec minor muscles, this is your pec major. We won't go into details of those today, but I was really feeling it today. You were stretching my arm lines, my lateral lines, my brain lines.